What's going on, guys? In this video I want to talk about key performance indicators. So if any of you are in any of our Facebook groups, you know that recently we were talking about KPIs, we were talking about what metrics you follow, and the question came up, what do you believe are the 5 most important key performance indicators if you had to limit it to 5? But beyond that discussion, and if you guys want, while you're listening to this video, go ahead and post in the comments what you believe the 5 or the 3 or even the number 1 key performance indicator that's most important to your practice success. Let us know down below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. But what I was talking about beyond KPIs was, what do you do with the information? So many of us, first, so many don't track the information, but then so many of us do track it but don't do anything with it. We don't have strategies, we don't have action plans in place so that if the performance on a key indicator is up, we double down and we accelerate that performance. If the performance is down, we have solutions in place to improve the performance. So I want to talk about one performance metric, percent of arrivals. And when I talk about percent of arrivals, what I mean by that is we have, let's say, 10 patients scheduled on today's book for a single therapist, and 9 of the 10 arrive. The average percent of arrivals for this day would be 90%. Now, this is a statistic that we track on a daily basis, and then we accumulate the numbers and track it on a weekly basis. So percent of arrivals is how many scheduled appointments, how many actually arrive and complete care, and then we get a percentage from that. So who's responsible for this key metric? Well, I know a lot of places put that responsibility on the therapist, but I actually think it really should be the responsibility of whoever is at the front desk, whoever is scheduling the appointments, whoever is answering the phone. Because that person, in my mind, has just as much influence as the therapist, and they really have the time to focus on improving that metric. So how do they improve that metric? What happens if we establish 90% as the baseline? 90% arrival is competency. If you get a better statistic than 90%, you exceed expectations. If you have a lower than 90% arrival rate, you're deficient in expectations. So how can we help you improve those expectations? Well, we have 5 opportunities to improve a number like that. And this is part of the procedure policy manual that helps new hires learn what is expected of them, how they can improve performance, how they do their job adequately or better than adequately. Okay, so let's talk about it. Patient calls. They have a conflict, some other appointment came up that they forgot about, and what they need to cancel. Okay, so the person on our side who's answering that call, option number 1, we want to try to reschedule them for the same day. So if it's a 10 a.m. appointment, they're calling at 9:30. Okay, Mrs. Jones, no problem. I totally understand. Things like this come up. I have a 2 o'clock appointment. I'm going to go ahead and book that for you today. It's not, can I book you today? No, it's, okay, Mrs. Jones, I totally understand. I have a 2 o'clock appointment on the schedule today. I'm going to book you. And so we now make it more of, they have to do a little bit of work to say no rather than the default answer. Most people, if you ask them a question, it's no, 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 no. This changes the verbiage, right? And that little bit of language makes a huge difference. Even if that person doesn't really want to come at 2 o'clock, the fact that the person on our side of the phone says, I am going to book you, it's just so much easier to kind of allow that to happen than to resist that. So option number 1, strategy number 1, we book for the same day. Strategy number 2, if they absolutely can't do that, strategy number 2 is we book for the same week. And this is where it's important that you look at your overall scheduling structure, because if you're like we used to be, where you would book 3 sessions a week as Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if they had to cancel a Friday appointment, you're stuck. That week is dead. You can't get another day in that week. So rather, we would keep Monday as our busiest days. We could do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. We could do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. We can do a couple different variations there and keep Friday open for rebookings. For when somebody had to cancel and they couldn't make up the session on the same day, we could push them to a Friday session. So strategy number 1, book for the same day. Strategy number 2, book for the same week. Strategy number 3, add an additional session into this following week. If their plan of care indicates 3 times a week, then next week we do 4 times a week. If it's 2 times a week, next week we do 3 times a week. The important thing to understand is therapy is no different than any prescription for medication. If the doctor says, or your therapist says, you need to take this once a day, every day, that's what you need to do. If you don't take it once a day, every day, it's going to be ineffective. If it's ineffective, at least theoretically speaking, the insurance company would have the right to say, we are not going to cover continued care, right? So this goes down a whole different line of thinking. But strategy number 1, same day reschedule. Strategy number 2, same week. Strategy number 3, add an additional session to the subsequent week. Strategy number 4, the first 3 completely fail. Okay, strategy number 4, we look for anybody who's got booked appointments later in the week who would be able to move to the opening. And so this would require a little bit of, time in advance. Maybe it's a morning call canceling an afternoon session. So if it's Monday or Tuesday, I would look at Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, see when my afternoon patients usually come, and see if any of those patients would come earlier. Better, I would look for initial evaluations that are scheduled into the future. So our goal is to schedule an initial evaluation within 24 hours of when they first call. So if it's Monday, or even Wednesday, let's say it's Wednesday, the patient, I go through all of my opportunities. I can't get them rebooked. Okay, so I schedule them for next week. But I look at tomorrow, and tomorrow I have a new patient evaluation in the same time slot. I would call that new patient and see if they want to come in today. Even if it's a 20-minute notice, I would still give it a shot to see if I can move that new patient from tomorrow to today, or if you have a patient that's scheduled even further into the future, move them up. Don't give anyone the opportunity for something bad to happen. The reason why we push so hard for getting new patients in within 24 hours, even if we have to rearrange and move existing patients, is because anything can happen in those 24, 48, 72 hours. We want to get the ball rolling. If they were willing to take the initiative to call our clinic, it's our responsibility to get that patient on the schedule and get the ball rolling to get that patient to meet their goals. You know better than anyone else, that first session is the most important session. It establishes the tone, it builds the relationship and the rapport. The faster we can get that to happen, the more likely we are to help that person achieve their ultimate outcome. So let me try and review here. Book the appointment for the same day, later time. Book the appointment for the same week. Book an additional appointment on the following week. Move an initial evaluation that was scheduled into the future into the new open spot. And then I think I combined the two of them. The last one was look for any patient follow-ups that were booked in the future, move them up. And bonus, number 6, really consider opening up the opportunity for patients that either have exceeded their annual allowed amounts for therapy. We have a lot of therapy plans locally from commercial payers that have a limit of 20 visits a year. So if they exhaust the 20 visit a year limit, what if they go on a call list so that when I have a last minute opening, I can give that person a call, get them into the clinic, and offer a discounted self-pay session. If I let that appointment go completely vacant and lose $150, $200, I would rather let that go to a $50 charge on a last minute fulfillment and lose, $100 instead of $150, right? Plus have the opportunity to help an individual, reduce the barriers to therapy, have one more raving fan out in the community that might refer friends and family. There's a lot of reasons to make compromises like that, But I hope this video was helpful. I hope you listed some of your key performance indicators down in the description, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.